Hari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Dhammapada Prahamsa Pravajakacharya Shotasvati True Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki John Vishnupada Paramsa Pravijakacharya Shotashata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Intai Gaur Pramanande Haribol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, titled The Island of Jambudvip, text number 23. Kalpayusham Stadnajayat Punarbhavat Shanayusham Bharata Bhujayo Varam Shranena Martyena Kirtamana Zvina Sanyasa Sam Yanti Abhayam Padam Hare Kalpyusham Stanajayat Punarbhavat Kshanayusham Bharata Pujayovaram Shranena Martyena Kirtam Manasvina Sanyasam Yanti Abhayam Padam Hare Kalpayusham Stadnajayat Punarbhavat Sharnayusham Bharata Pujayovaram Shranena Martyena Kritam Manasvina Sanyasya Sam Yanti Abhayam Padam Hare. Word for word. Kalpa Ayusham. Of those who have a duration of a life duration of many millions of years, like Lord Brahma, Stana Jayat, then achievement of the place or planetary systems, Puna Bhavat, which is liable to birth, death, and old age, Kshana Ayusham, of persons who have only 100 years of life, Bharatabhujaya, a birth in the land of Bharatvarsha, Varam, more valuable, Kshanena, for such a short life, Martyena, by the body, Kritam, the work executed, Manasvina, those actually understanding the value of life, Sannyasya, surrendering onto the lotus feet of Krishna, Samyanti, they achieve, Abhyam, where there's no anxiety, Padam, the abode, Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A short life in the land of Bharatvarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatvarsha, in a lower planetary system, is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection, even in this short life, by fully surrendering onto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. Purport. This is further confirmation of the statement given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bharata bhumite haya manushaya janmayara janma sarita kari kara para upakara. One who has taken birth in the land of Bharatvarsha has a full opportunity to study the direct instructions given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and thus finally decide what to do in his human form of life. One should certainly give up all other propositions and surrender to Krishna. Krishna will then immediately take charge and relieve one of the result of one's past sinful activities. Ham tvam sarva papyebhyo mokshayashyami ma sucha. Therefore, one should take to Krishna consciousness, as Krishna himself recommends. Man manam bhavad mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer me obeisances. This is very easy, even for a child. Why not take this path? One should try to follow the instructions of Krishna exactly, and thus become fully eligible to be promoted to the kingdom of God. Tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. One should go directly to Krishna and engage in his service. This is the best opportunity offered to the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha. One who is fit to return home back to Godhead is no longer liable to the results of karma, good or bad. Om Gita Manasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chakshamatamana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sarigor Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this verse, Shukadev Goswami, I believe he's the one speaking, or no, is the demigods offering prayers rather. That life in Bharat Varsha is preferable to a life in the higher planets, even up to Brahma Loka. And the reason for that is because one is given full opportunity to elevate himself to Krishna consciousness, even in a very short life, by surrendering onto Krishna in Bharatavarsha. And this is a very different sort of viewpoint or order of priority from what is found in kind of our modern worldview or modern culture. Most people, if given the chance to live millions and billions of years, would be very eager to take up that opportunity. We see, today there are so many advertisements for reversing aging. You use this cream, go on this diet, do this exercise regimen, and you'll feel 10 years younger, 20 years younger, whatever. Even some people claim some very insane things will make you feel like you are young again. I've heard one person claim that at least one person claim that if you are in your elder years, if you're getting a bit up there in age, this person recommended that if you take a diet of only meat, you will feel 20 years younger. If you're in your 50s, you'll feel like you're in your 30s. And not only, and they're promulgating not only meat, but specifically beef. And they say, this person was saying that, you will have a much better quality of life if you adopt this diet. I'm, of course, not a medical scientist. I don't know from a medical point of view. I would be very skeptical if that was the case physically. But karmically, of course, that sort of lifestyle is disastrous. That for probably many, many births, somebody who follows that lifestyle will be reaping the karmic consequences of such a diet. But because we are focused only on the body and preserving the body as easily as possible, or not as easily necessarily, or preserving the body for as long as possible, there's no knowledge of this, of what actually the effects of what we do in the human form of life is, or what the purpose of the human form of life. If you look at a lot of modern philosophy, then it becomes evident that nobody really knows what the purpose of life is. And this is not necessarily my editorializing. A lot of modern philosophers will tell you either life has no purpose, or that we choose our own purpose, which is the same thing as saying that life has no purpose, has no telos, a reason for that it exists. And one can actually see the effects of this philosophy. One big group of proponents of this philosophy is were the existentialists, that life has no meaning. We just come here, we're born, and then we die, and we fade into the nothingness. Just kind of to underline the point, there's this famous quote by one of the existentialists, Camus, who said, "Shall I have a cup of coffee or shall I commit suicide?" Because according to the absurdist viewpoint that he espoused, those two things are equal. That there's really no difference between having a cup of coffee in the morning and taking one's own life. And if you look at the lives of the existentialists and others who have this philosophy, it is actually just a lot of suffering. Their personal relationships were not always so good. And to cope, many of them took various forms of intoxicants in very large quantities. So much so that for some of them, doctors were saying that they were surprised that they were even alive. And this is just an example of the point of view that is prevalent nowadays, of the effects of a point of view that is prevalent nowadays, that life has no meaning. We are all just chemical soups that have somehow taken on form and can communicate using sounds that come out of our mouth in a way that can understand each other, and that we go through life and we try to enjoy as much as we can, and then we die. On both the personal and societal level, this philosophy is disastrous. And is it any surprise when you tell people that they are no more valuable than a bunch of chemicals that you can buy online or at the store, that depression and anxiety is rising? When you tell people that life is meaningless and then you die, is it any surprise that people do not want to engage in that, engage wholeheartedly in that philosophy, or take just to a life of hedonism, where they try to enjoy as much as they can in a short amount of time. But no matter what one's philosophy, even if one has this absurd philosophy of non-meaning, then still one must act. It is the nature of the living entity to be active. Even if one knows uh, that all of the manifestations of this world are due to the comings and goings of karma, still one is compelled by the modes of nature to action. So then the question becomes, as Prabhupada answers in the purport, what should we do? What should we do with this human form of life? And people answer this question, of course, in various ways. Some say that should just be hedonists, that we should all just try to enjoy as much as we can. I'll get mine, you get yours, and somehow or other that will produce a society that we will all want to live in. There actually are philosophers, at least one, who say that maximal self-interest will lead to a good society, because that is the aim of life. Others are a bit more, as you say, revolutionary in their attempt on what to do. The other day, on Wednesdays, we have a Varnashram reading group, and we were reading from a compilation of Srila Prabhupada's lectures, conversations, etc., about Varnashram. And it was Prabhupada's famous conversation with Professor Kotovsky, and the professor, who was a professor in the Soviet Union, was talking about how communism is the perfect non-hierarchical society, and that's talking about liberating the means of production. So some people decide to do that with their human form of life. And there's so many other ways and means of what to do. But one who actually knows will approach one who is actually intelligent, who actually knows how to gain knowledge, will approach a spiritual master to figure out what to do in his human form of life. And the spiritual master is the representative of Krishna, and will repeat the instructions given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and will give that to his disciple. And then the human being will know what to do in this form of life. And that is full surrender to Krishna. Of course, anywhere in this material world, one can give full surrender to Krishna, but it is in a lot of ways more difficult to do so in the demigod form of life. Of course, the demigods are devotees, but generally speaking, they're mixed devotees. They have desire for Krishna, but also a desire for material opulence. And the material opulence found in the heavenly planets is far more than anything that is found on this Earth planet. So it can be very distracting. We see many times throughout the Bhagavatam of the demigods of various demigods getting into trouble by attachment to material opulence. I mean, you can kind of think of it analogously of a person, here on Earth who had a lot of wealth or fame or some other opulence, and how much they would do to stop from losing it, or how much they lament when they do lose it. If somebody has $2 or $3 billion, somebody's a billionaire, and you say to them, okay, now you lose your billions and you have to go live in a homeless shelter. They would be lamenting very much. There's a quote from Prabhupada, I think, in a conversation somewhere. I don't have an exact source. I'm just going off of memory, that if a poor man has to eat chipped rice, it's not super tasty. It's not, but he can enjoy it because that's what he's used to. But a man who is used to wealth can never enjoy chipped rice because he's used to more fine dining, how more opulent food. And if this is just the position of people on Earth, how much more the position of the demigods, whose opulences are greater than anything on this planet. So in many ways, birth in Bharatvarsha, even though it's a middle planetary system, it's lower than the heavenly planets. And life is very short, especially in Kali Yuga. There is a concession. There is a silver lining, so to speak, that even though in this short form of life we are given a full opportunity to make an end to the whole system of birth and death, of the whole repetition of having a material body, by listening to the instructions of Krishna. We are not so opulent as in the heavenly planets to be attached in that way. And any attachments that we do have can be given up by this process of Krishna consciousness, of bhakti yoga, which is delineated in the Bhagavad Gita and other shastras. Especially in this age of Kali, even though there are many uh, discrepancies, even though there are many bad qualities of this age of Kali. There is actually the greatest opportunity because we have the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and which makes it very easy to get the mercy of Krishna. Even in previous ages in Bharatvarsha, the process was extremely difficult. You know, meditating for 60,000 years, doing costly yajnas, while here uh, in this current age, it is a very simple process. Just chanting Hare Krishna. And in doing so, we overcome our material attachments. Can the pujaris please talk quieter? Very Jada. Okay. Okay, thanks. Sorry, we're getting some crosstalk from the pujari room. Where was I? Okay. So yes, in this age of Kali, we are very fortunate that we have the chance to actually take up Lord Chaitanya's mission, which is the simplest method for going back to Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, for example, which is spoken in a previous age, Krishna says, surrender unto me, and then I'll give you the bliss. In the current age, the system is that Lord Chaitanya gives us the bliss, and then we worry about surrender. And by this method, by this chanting of Hare Krishna, we overcome our material attachments that stop us from taking full advantage of this transcendental knowledge and confuse us about what to do in this human form of life. Because actually what to do is in many ways very simple. Just performing Krishna consciousness, either purely if we are on that platform or according to our psychophysical natures, our varna, in Krishna's social system, in the Daivi Varnashram system. But in any case, it is very simple what to do. And it's only our material attachments that confuse us about what to do in this human form of life. But by this chanting of Hare Krishna, we can overcome all of our attachments to material things and just become attached to Krishna. And in doing so, we will, at the end of this life, not have to take a material body, but go back to the kingdom of God, go back to the spiritual world, and participate with Krishna in his pastimes. So that's all that I have. We have about 15 minutes left. if there are any comments, questions, additions, subtractions.
Thank you for your class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So we are to understand that elevation of the heavenly planets is actually not the way to go.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and for certain classes of yogis, elevation to upper planetary systems is part of the process of gradually attaining Vaikuntha, but that's not our interest. And I have heard sometimes uh, even devotees will suggest that making a stop along the way back home to spend some time in the heavenly planets is um, seems like a good deal. You get a high standard of sense gratification, extraordinary sex life, and um, but my understanding from Srila Prabhupada is that the mood of a devotee, at least a pure devotee, is is that he regards uh, such such a condition to be more or less hellish because he is um, having to remain in a particular material body for a very long period of time, and uh, during which he is um, often distracted by the very high standard of sense gratification and forgetful of Krishna.
Yeah.
And so to be separated from Krishna in such a way for such a long period of time, it's regarded by devotees as being a very miserable condition. They want to be reunited with Krishna as soon as possible, or at least engaged uh, in pure devotional service and not distracted by sense gratification. So this leads me to a question,
Hmm.
which is why then do we sometimes find in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam that certain personalities are awarded the benediction of elevation to the heavenly planets, sometimes by um, Lord Narayan, um, for some period of time before they then will return back home. So like for example, the Prachetas were blessed in such a way. So and I'm thinking, well, because they still had some material desires, so that's being satisfied. But it seems like that's really the booby prize. Doesn't seem like a blessing. It seems like kind of a curse. You're going to go back home, but you're going to have to stay here for hundreds of millions of years, or hundreds of thousands of years, or whatever, in relative forgetfulness of me. That doesn't seem like a very nice blessing to me, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Before I get to my thoughts on that, I'll say that the devotees who that you mentioned who say making a stop on the way back to uh, back to Krishna Loka through the heavenly planets, should read the pastime of Bharat Maharaj. So you can get attached to a deer on this earth. Uh, there's no guarantee that you can't get attached to the opulences in the heavenly planets. Now, the personalities like the Prachetas and others, one, I guess, way to think about it could be that, yes, Krishna gives the benediction of, Krishna can give the benediction of material opulence, but he can also give the benediction that you won't get attached to material opulence. There are various times throughout the Bhagavatam that even if it isn't necessarily elevation to the heavenly planets, that different personalities are given material opulences. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, Prahlad Maharaj, were both given facility to become rulers over vast kingdoms, otherworldly kingdoms. But they were unattached to such opulence. So it is possible for Krishna, or Narayan, his various forms, to give the benediction of a materially comfortable position while also giving the benediction of not being attached to that position. And on the point of having to wait millions or billions of years to go back to Godhead, if one is a pure devotee, one is already back home, back to Godhead. Even in a material body, if one's consciousness is absorbed in Krishna, then one can be a demigod, be a demon in the heavenly planets, hellish planets, lower planets, middle planets, whatever. And one is still feeling the bliss of Krishna consciousness. One doesn't feel, from one perspective, one doesn't feel that separation from Krishna. Of course, there's Vipralamba Bhav, which is love in separation, but that isn't necessarily the same as the type of separation from Krishna that we all experience, or at least that I experience, which is due to material desires. So Krishna, I don't think, would give somebody a dangerous benediction, you could say, one that doesn't ultimately lead to their further elevation. Whether by giving them material opulences in such a way that they won't want it again, or rewarding the material opulences and protecting them from such attachment. So that's, I guess, my thought on that point.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
That did seem to be the case with the Prachetas, that Krishna benedicted them that while they did not begin as pure devotees, he blessed them that they would become pure in their devotion and then go back home. In the meantime, they would enjoy on an extraordinary standard and 1 million celestial years, which is a really long time, because a celestial year is already a very long period of time by earthly standards, but 1 million celestial years, so really, really long time. He said, looking at verse here, Canto 4, 30th chapter, text 18, he says, well, let me go to the previous verse, text 17. The Lord then blessed the Prachetas, saying, my dear princes, by my mercy you can enjoy all the facilities of this world as well as the heavenly world. Indeed, you can enjoy all of them without hindrance and with full strength for 1,000,000 celestial years. And then he says, thereafter, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets as well as in hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. So they start out with attachments, and but Krishna blesses them. Lord Narayan actually is blessing them that after 100 celestial years, they will be freed of all material contamination and become completely unattached. So it's an interesting blessing. I was just always surprised by the fact that they had to do 1,000,000 celestial years before going back home. But I don't know. I guess it must have been a fulfillment of their desire.
Hmm.
Well, thank you again, Prabhu, and thank you for your class. Very thought-provoking. Gives me lots to chew on throughout the day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Haribo, very
Haribo.
nice class, Prabhuji. I at some point want to get with you because I had so many debates recently about the whole atheistic science perspective, and I've heard you give class before, and I know you know a lot about it. So you know about Richard Dawkins and all these things. So at some point, I'd like to get with you at somehow or another and communicate so you can give me some enlightenment on those things. But another thing is that the tendency to enjoy can even carry over into association with Krishna. So without the association of the eternal associates of Krishna, that can't be given up. So examples of that are like Kubja. Kubja wanted to enjoy. The object of her enjoyment was Krishna. So Krishna reciprocated with that, but it's not considered that Kubja's affection for Krishna was classified as prem. Similarly, the sages from Dandakaranya forest who were blessed by Lord Ram to obtain Braja, they, on the night of the Ras, they could not attend because they still had the sense of enjoying Krishna. And because of that, Yogamaya did not make duplicates of their bodies, so their husbands checked them. So in 10th canto, it mentions that when they were checked by their husbands at that time, they developed so much deep separation for Krishna, Danya Prapta Chutta Shlesha, and Vrittashina Mangali, then they gave up that tendency to enjoy having the success of having obtained Braj. At that time, they became completely purified. So the tendency, and Rupa Goswami writes about this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this tendency to enjoy can even reach into the divine realm, except that the object of enjoyment becomes the Lord himself. Whereas the actual eternal associates have no other desire except the pleasure of the Lord, and it is a byproduct of that exclusive desire that they enjoy. They don't have a separate desire for enjoyment. So it's a real interesting psychology, even in the deeper aspects of bhakti.
Yeah, I heard, speaking of the point of one needs the association of devotees to overcome this tendency of enjoying Krishna. It reminds me of what basically that I've heard, that even after becoming liberated from this material body, from this material consciousness, really, we don't go straight back to the spiritual world. We go to whatever material world Krishna is performing his pastimes in. And then we're trained by the devotees there and how to serve in our Swarup, in our eternal position.
Yes.
And when Krishna wraps up his pastimes there, then we go back with him to the spiritual world.
Yes.
I've heard there are some exceptions where you can go straight back, but generally that's the system. So there's always training, which means always associating with devotees. Even on the highest stage, we have more advanced devotees that train us in how to please Krishna.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you, Prabhu. We have maybe a couple more minutes. Sounds like the offering is just happening. So if there are any last comments or questions. Okay. If not, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, it's pretty late, kind of after the buzzer here, but I was just thinking in response to Tarka Prabhu's, I guess, question about the Prachetas. I I was thinking because they did so much pious, activities, right, and so many austerities, and so I think they were kind of rightfully granted those privileges of the heavenly planets. But maybe these examples are there just so we can see, like, okay, what is our situation though? Like, how much highest credit do we have to enjoy like that? Because then also you see, right, in the like fifth canto, you see all the hellish conditions that happen, the hellish conditions that you're put in by doing all these sinful activities. So I think that's more our situation. So it's like, okay, if we don't take to this process seriously and we just depend on our karma, it's not looking so good.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments.